Nervous breakdown during exams, how to avoid. The nervous breakdown during exams paradigm has in the past dominated various substantive academic and psychological conceptual models, making various scholars come up with advisory tips to students on how to cope up with it and to prepare students mentally and psychologically. The procedures help students to build confidence, hence a feeling of independence, knowing that they can do something good without giving up. Despite all the efforts which are being put in place to avoid it, the exam process will always come with stress and anxiety. Some of the nervousness symptoms during examination include nausea, feeling blank in the mind, irritability, sweating, and panic. The key to solving all these is to plan well and have proper reading time techniques and follow the timetable without procrastination. Some of the procedures and guidelines on how to avoid anxiety and to develop self-confidence are as discussed below. As exam days approach, a student must plan their time wisely. This will not only eliminate stress but also ensure that all the needed areas are covered during the study. A student should set up some time for revision during which he can take past tests, adhering to all the rules. According to Tharani, using the resources will build the student's art of writing and also get used to exam situations. Students should also have study blocks during which they can share and discuss past examination papers. This is necessary because it builds and expands on students' understanding of a given concept. Time management makes students know when they should go to the field and relax their minds. As students prepare for exams, they must highlight key concepts they need to master. They should produce a small notepad that gives information on basics they need to remember every time before sitting for an examination. Students can come up with an aid that can map the information and pin it somewhere. In this sense, it will be easier for reference. To many students, this might appear a lot of work, but anyone with voracious reading skills must know the basic concepts, which acts as a guideline and reduces chances of deviating to non-important points in exams. The lists should be assembled earlier before exam time, especially when lectures are on, to avoid panic. It is very important that before exams the student adopt learning strategies. This, in most instances, varies from one student to another and it allows effectiveness in exams. Morgan states that some of the learning strategies include changing the meaning of terms or sentences into their own words, making flashcards to assist in getting the meaning of some terms, listening to music, and relating it to the course, and coming up with short notes. I believe that when students adapt their strategies they will seldom suffer from nervousness because they get to know how to do it. This method might appear to others as elementary, but it has worked for all ages. In my view, the most key point is for students to identify what works for them and exploit it to build on their confidence. If a student relates a song he loves most with a process, for instance, photosynthesis, then the concept is unlikely to be forgotten. Students should always create study guides and groups during revision. Morgan believes that this is very important as it allows them to compare notes with one another. When students ask questions amongst themselves, they will cover the course very first with an in-depth understanding. In most cases students have different understandings and approaches to a quiz. Groups will therefore enhance the way one answers the question besides knowing the concepts he did not know before. There's always a sense of belonging and we feel when students are in a group. Buddies will always be there and empathize together and support one another as they approach exams to reduce nervousness. It is also fundamental that a night before exams the student should go through the notes independently. This should not involve serious reading but going through the study guide just to ensure that the student has covered all the topics during revision. This view is supported by Tharani, who admits that it is important because it refreshes the mind on what had been revised. It is a time students should think of their source of motivation and inspiration. Think of the course and the positive things that drove them to take it and the accompanying emotions. After these, the students should ensure that they get better sleep after taking a very nutritious, well-balanced diet. This will ensure that exams don't break the mental and physical health. The student should ensure that before he goes to bed, he has gathered all the necessary materials that he will use during exam time. This may range from pencils, pens, erasers, and calculators among other materials as will be instructed by the examiner. These arrangements are very important because they avoid a last-minute rush which may lead to panicking. If there is anything the student is not in a position to avail, they should always let their instructors know in advance for assistance. After arranging all the required materials, the student should have a good sleep and, in the morning, gets a very healthy breakfast. He should relax and may take deep breaths or listen to cool music. A short, relaxed walk brings oxygen to the brain and ensures that one remains active. With a relaxed mind, a student will be in a position to start the exam in a calm mind, hence remaining focused on the exams. Positive thinking is another element that can reduce nervousness among students. When they have a belief that they must perform and get the best out of it, then the students should erase negative thinking in whatever thing they are doing. A positive belief raises self-esteem and therefore allows them to remain focused on the subject. Students with positive thinking will always learn how to relax and calm down during exams because already they have set goals that must be achieved. Concisely, there are so many ways on how to develop self-confidence and avoid nervous breakdowns and anxiety before and during exam time. In my view, the most eminent thing is for students to find out what works best for them to get good grades. Remaining cool and calm with a clear vision of where one is headed is very important in remaining self-confident. A brain works in positive notations, and therefore the student should not have any negative thinking during exams, but try to correlate the solutions to the problems and his strengths. If a student still feels nervous during exams, it is necessary to stretch and even take a walk for a minute or so to allow oxygen circulation to the brain. Any level of uncontrolled nervousness should be reported to a professional counselor.